Hello everyone and welcome to this corner of YouTube. My name is Samar and in this channel I'm going to document my journey into pottery. Today I'm making a bowl. I started with 800 grams of clay. I'm centering, coning it up and down to make sure that it's fully centered. Now I'm going to open this up and make sure what we're achieving is a bowl and not a cylinder. The difference between a bowl and cylinder is in the angle that wall and floor makes. For cylinder, we are aiming for a perfect 90-degree angle between the wall and floor, but for the bowl, we are looking for the nice curvy transition between the floor and the wall, so there is not a right angle at the corner. Here I'm making sure that I open up in a curved format and I'm compressing the floor with a sponge and with my hands and eventually with a rib to make sure that it's fully compressed to prevent S-cracks later on. And here you see me using a rubber rib to compress the bottom. The clay that I'm working with is Tucker's Mid Smooth Stone Cone 6. And it's going to fire to a white color, not as white as a porcelain, but still quite white. Prior to this batch, I was working with a grout clay. Moving to this clay was quite pleasant for me because it's really smooth under the fingers. Here I'm pulling up the wall, making sure not to go too wide because otherwise I cannot control it and it's going to collapse on me. I learned that from experience, so I'm trying to keep it quite vertical at this point. And once I reach to the height that I'm happy with, I'm going to start opening the bowl and shaping it. Prior to this bowl, I had thrown few more and each of them failed for a different reason. My goal for today is to throw as many bowls as needed to achieve one perfect bowl, and I'm hoping this is the one. I still have quite a lot of clay at the base, and if I was a professional potter, I could have used all of that clay and bring it to the height of the bowl. But since I'm not that professional, I'm still going to have some clay at the base because that will help me build the shape that I need and make it more robust for me. And eventually I need to have a session for trimming the bowl. Maybe now I can share a little bit about myself. I'm not an artist by any means. I'm an engineer and my active employment is an engineering firm. I found pottery a couple of years ago when I joined a local community studio. I was hooked from the moment that I touched the clay. I'm on maternity leave since last September and I thought it's a good time for me to practice my skills. So I bought myself a wheel and I'm lucky enough to have a basement that I can have a small studio for myself, and my goal was to throw as many pieces as I can to improve my skills in making things off the wheel. So when the baby sleeps, I'm in the basement throwing pots. The bowl looks pretty good at this stage, so I'm going to use a wooden rib and use the curved edge to further define the curvature of the bowl. I'm applying the rib at the inner face and using my fingers at the outer face of the bowl to apply some pressure and define the shape furthermore. Now that I'm happy with the shape, I'm going to clean up the pot. I'm going to use my sponge to clean up all the excess moisture from the inside. For the rim, I don't have a chamois, so I'm going to use the skin in between my fingers to clean up the edge, and that works like a charm. That's something that I learned from YouTube. some final touches with my rib, and I think I'm pretty happy with the shape. It turned out pretty well. I'm not happy with the amount of clay that I have at the base, but I think as I practice, I might get better at removing the clay from the base and into the bowl itself. At this point, I'm thinking maybe I should do a swirl at the inside. I have seen professional potters doing that, so I'm going to do it after. I'm further cleaning up, removing a little bit more clay from the base. There we go, keeping my hands steady. And I know you cannot see it from this angle, but I'm going to show it to you. It turned out pretty nice. I'm happy. So let's remove the pot and see what we have done. It's a little bit coarse, so I think once it dries up a little bit, I'm going to go with a damp sponge and smoothen out the edges. And as with the dimension, the height is 3.5 inches and the diameter is about 6.5 inches. I think that's a pretty nice size bowl for soup and noodle. As I said before, I need to trim the bottom part because I know there is a lot of clay there, but that will allow me to have a nice food at the end. So I'm going to have another video for the trimming of this pot, and hopefully it will turn out well. Thank you for watching. See you next time.